wanted to try to do it without the glasses, but I couldn't read the stat sheet, so I'm going to go with them. But this was a very important game for us. I was very proud of our guys, the approach we had to the game. So much respect for what Chris is doing. This is a much improved DePaul team, and the way he's constructed this roster is actually pretty amazing, the continuity they're playing with. To think that not one of these players was with them. It's a whole new staff. I know Jack was with them at Ohio State, but all those other guys, they're putting a new staff together. You have a whole new team. The continuity they play with, the way they recruited, the high character guys they brought in, and they're hard to play against. We haven't really played a team that spreads you like that with their shooting. And they do a great job. Connor's always looking to penetrate, and he's got his head up. And if you make mistakes, they make you pay. And our biggest word for this game was discipline. Because we knew there were going to be times where we'd get broken down a little bit, but we had to be disciplined to stay in passing lanes. We couldn't fall asleep on shooters. They still made 12 threes, but we held them to 64 points, and we turned them over 18 times. And a lot of those steals turned into transition baskets, which for us is huge. That's been something we've really talked about as a team. We're a very good defensive team, and we need to turn some of those live ball turnovers so points can come a little easier. I thought we got out in transition today, and which enabled us to get to 84 points, and that's a key thing. I mean, if we can get to 84, we'll be hard to beat because we usually defend pretty well. So really proud of our guys. Thought Brooks and Nick were fantastic, led the way. Justin Mullins, unsung hero tonight, comes in. He's getting better for him to, people haven't been guarding him on the perimeter. He stepped up. He made 2 threes. He was in lanes, his defense, his activity. He made 2 great passes back-to-back to Matt for dunks. We were able to get Matt some dunks, which is huge. That's what we got to do when teams are helping on our main guys. We've lost that element a little bit. Boo was always so good at getting Matt those lobs and those dump offs, and we've really talked to our guys and through film have shown opportunities to get Matt those lobs and opportunities. And then Jalen just kind of does what he does, gets a cool 15 or whatever it is, and in a calm demeanor. So really good win, much important win for us. We knew it. We approached it like it was a game we had to win. And I thought our guys, the way we came out, it kind of showed that in our play.
Chris Holtman said he thinks that Brooks has a chance to play in the NBA, that he's that caliber of player. I know obviously the priority is to win games in college first, but what have you seen from him in that context so far this season?
Yeah, I mean, I just think the one thing that I would say about Brooks, and it's why every coach in America would love to have him on his team, on your team, is he immerses himself into competition in the game. He's fully immersed into the game. He's not thinking about, we had a game last week where I think he missed his first 8 shots. He's not even thinking about that. He's competing. And then he made 6 of his next 8 because he's just competing. And, he is such a competitor. He's so tough. And he's so skilled. That being said, you can talk, but he's also a very skilled player. He can handle the ball. He can initiate offense. He can play in pick and roll. He can play out of, back downs and isolations. He's shooting the ball better. He's really worked on that. And now as he's getting healthier, he's going to continue to do that from 3. And he's going to bring the other stuff, rebounding, intangibles, defense. Why wouldn't you want someone like that on your team at any level in the world? Forget about, I'm happy I get to coach him for 20 more games plus, but why wouldn't anyone at any level in the world not want a player like that on their team? The way he brings it every day.
You mentioned that initiation there. I think a lot of times when people think of player development, it's all about scoring and adding to that arsenal. How have you worked with players like Brooks and Nick to develop the ability to process the game and make the right pass?
Yeah, I think tonight, and I just told Brooks this after the game, he was so excited in our Georgia Tech game. In that first 8 minutes, he took some bad shots. He was over aggressive. He was just hunting. I thought he was kind of I call it chasing the game instead of letting the game play out. And I thought tonight, like that 20-point, maybe he had 1 basket in that first 20 points. I don't know, but it was mostly other guys. He was setting the table. Nick got going. Ty hit a shot. Jalen hit a couple shots. Matt got a couple. We got other guys going. And then what happens is as the game wears along, then he kind of sees where he can take over, and that's what he did in the second half offensively. So, those are the conversations you have, Matt, as guys get older. When they get older, they kind of process it a little bit easier because the game slows down a little bit. But you watch film, you talk about the game, you talk about the mentality of the game with these guys, and that's why continuity in a program is so important to me. I mean, this is my 4th year with Brooks, my 3rd year with Nick, my 5th year with Matt, 5th year with Ty. We've been in a lot of wars and battles together. And we've been through some highs, lows. We've and we've gotten to the other side, and it's really fun as a coach to be a part of those journeys and watch all those guys develop and become the players they have.
And Coach, it seemed as if your guys' physicality really set the tone to start the game, and eventually I think you guys ended with 44 points in the paint. Was that kind of the game plan heading into the game, knowing DePaul kind of lacked some size?
Yeah, I mean, it really, honestly, that's an emphasis with every game, not just DePaul. I mean, that's how we're built. I mean, we have 2 guys that are, again, they go for 44 points, and they only make 1 3 combined. So, I mean, they score 44 points in the paint or in mid-range, so, that's a big bulk of it. We were able then, like I talked about, I think there's an element with Matt, we've been missing him a lot, off of dump offs. We got some lobs tonight where the defense is over helping, and he even had one he missed, early in the second half. He would have had another one. So, we try to come into the game and look, I told you guys, I mean, we took 12 threes tonight. It's probably going to be a little bit more than that on a game-to-game, but it's, probably not going to be more than 20, 22 on a game. And if we take 20, 22, we need to make 8 or 9, in my opinion. But the way this team is built, and you know what, guys, that's okay. I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of people get turned off sometimes with the next level is because everybody plays the same. Everybody opens the floor and shoots 53s a game because the analytics tell you should play that way. Well, basketball can be won in different ways. You can play different defenses. You can run different things. You can have different personnel. And the way our team is built, we have really good mid-range and in-the-paint players, and that's how we're going to play. And then we'll complement that with whatever teams try to do to take it away.
So the first 20, I would say even first 8 minutes, the kind of turnovers that you guys forced, when you see them being deflections, that kind of stuff, you guys creating those opportunities, what did you learn about your team's ability to create those opportunities to get the fast break?
Yeah, a lot of it was discipline. Coach Lowry, who, has been amazing, especially with our defense. He's been such a great resource for me, since the moment he joined the staff. But he's got such a great defensive mind, and it's a great compliment because I'm usually, even though I care about defense and all that, I'm trying to figure out how to score most of the time and manufacture points, but he's always thinking defense. And so it's been a great partnership with he and I, and he's got a way that he always tells our guys that he tells them if they're disciplined and if they get to the right spots with our defensive scheme and they're active, the other team will throw you the ball. You don't have to dive for steals. You don't have to overrun. Just be where you're supposed to be and be there with activity, and the other team will throw it to you. And I thought a lot of that was in the first half. We were in the right gaps. We had great hand activity. We had sped them up a little bit to start the game, and I thought a number of our steals were just being in the right spot, being in our gaps.
Coach, just before you came in here, Chris Holtman said you guys renewed the series between Northwestern and DePaul. So
Yeah.
How excited are you for the future of that series as he continues to build out his program? And also, have you guys considered maybe making it into a larger series between multiple local teams?
Yeah, it's hard. Like, you even saw that in Indiana, where they used to have the 4-team, tournament with Notre Dame and Butler and Indiana and Purdue, and they've gone away from that. It's really hard to do something like that because of scheduling. And the reason it is because now everyone's playing conference games in December, and so we're going to even, like, we've always played this game, on this Saturday before Christmas. We're probably going to have to move when this game is played because the Big East is playing conference games. We're playing, and we want to keep playing this game. So we're going to figure it out, whether we got to play early in November, around Thanksgiving, whenever that is. But it sounds great, and I've been asked that a bunch. And I love where Chicago basketball is at right now. I tell you, in my 12, 13 years I've been here, I'm old, so I don't know how many years it is now, but this is probably the best collectively that you would say Northwestern, DePaul, Loyola, and UIC are. And we played UIC. They got a new coach. Really, what Coach Valentine's doing at Loyola, he's been kicking butt there. What Chris is going to do at DePaul, I hate it. Because but they're going to keep getting better. He's a hell of a coach, and he's at a place where he's going to be able to build it his way, and they're going to keep getting better. So I'm excited to keep this series going because we've played it. I think maybe one time we didn't in my career, but it's been important to me to play this game. You got a Big East team, a Big Ten team, 2 local teams. We're both in a good spot, in terms, and I think it's going to make for great games, and going forward. So I know both of us are excited about keeping this thing going, and then we'll just see, guys. Who knows how much has college basketball changed in the last few years? What if leagues start going to 30-game leagues? Then you have who knows where this is all headed? So in the near term, we're going to keep playing the game. But then we also have to adapt as our landscape of college basketball keeps changing.
So just looking at big picture-wise, you've got another non-conference game, but then you've got a real tough start again to the Big Ten.
Can I just enjoy my Christmas, Paul?
Just how do you feel about where you are right now in regards to the conference schedule?
You know what I really like is I feel we're getting better, and that's the thing that I felt we've really been able to lean on our defense. And that's been a staple of this program. That's been a non-negotiable. That's been something we've tried to make as our identity, since I've been here with toughness and defense. And, I felt like the more that our guys could play and the healthier we would get and the more we could play games together and the more – because I'm still learning. I just told you guys, we have a very unique team, how it's built. So I'm still learning how to use them. And how do we make Nick better? How do we make Brooks better? How do we get more for Ty and Matt involved and things like that? So I feel like we're improving. I thought it was a real step forward today, especially offensively with our spacing, with the way we're sharing the ball. We've always been a low turnover team. We had 8 today, but we had 5 in about a 4-minute stretch at the end of the first half, which I was really mad about. Overall, we took care of the ball really well, and you have to keep getting better. Our league is too good. Coaches are too good. I've looked at the teams that we've had that when we've done really well as time has gone on, and we keep improving. And I think the next step of that too is to continue to develop some of our bench players. I was able to get KJ a few minutes there in the first half, which is important. Angelo's a big piece as well coming forward. We need to continue Justin's development. I think the more guys that we can get that can come in and help us is gonna help us as we get into the Big Ten.
Chris, how do you go about scouting this DePaul team? They return 0 minutes. How much do you kind of blend the 11 games with what Chris did at Ohio State? What kind of a challenge does that provide for you?
Yeah, this was a tough prep. Fortunately, they've played 11 games. It would have been a nightmare if you played them in the first week of the season. Trying to watch film. I'm going to watch Skogman at Davidson and Rivera at UIC and Connor at Drake. At least we had 11 games, and they've kind of developed an identity of how they play, where they spread the floor, they play off Connor, they shoot a lot of threes, they push the ball, they play with pace. Some of their defensive schemes they've now shown, have been consistent in a lot of games, so that helped. But, it's still when you get out there, they put a lot of pressure on you. That's why we just kept telling our guys discipline and also poise. Because when you play a team like that, there's going to be stretches where they make 3 or 4 threes in a row. And they did that today. All of a sudden, bang, and they score 12 quick points. But if you can, just steady the ship and continue to play good defense and continue to challenge those shots and then run good offense on the other end and not panic, that was a big key to this game today.
Time for a couple more questions, Ryer.
Coach, Jalen Leach had 4 turnovers in the first half,
Yeah.
part of that stretch, but then only 1 in the second half in 17 minutes. Do you talk to him at halftime, or
Yeah.
did that just come back to
Yeah, I thought a lot of it was DePaul's ball pressure. I thought they were getting underneath him and getting into his legs, and they were getting him to spin, and he was losing vision, and they were really digging at the ball, and they did a good job on him. And I thought there was a stretch there in the first half. You guys will look it up. I have pretty good recall, but he had 3 or 4, and then Brooks had 1 the same way. We had 4 or 5 where those guys were trying to spin in traffic, and their ball pressure, I thought, was bothering us. And so we talked about that at halftime. We also, made the adjustment too, hey, if they're putting a lot of pressure on those guys, other guys can help. And you saw us in the second half at times, Nick was bringing it up just to kind of get not where they had to expend so much energy bringing the ball at the floor every time. So give a lot of credit to Paul. We pride ourselves on being a low turnover team. If you guys have followed us all the time, I mean, we are usually amongst the nation's leaders, and our goal is always single digit. So even though he had those 5, I'm really pleased tonight that we only had 8 as a team, because we need those possessions. Like we need to get a good shot at the basket every time.
Right.
So can you just speak to the quality progression in Nick's game from the time he was a freshman to this point in time? How his character and how your relationship kind of fosters growth to the point where Chris Holman said he's probably the guy that's looking at like a strong Big Ten all-conference type season.
Yeah, I think it's been really fun for me at Northwestern when I look at my whole tenure. Guys like Nick, the journey, of where they start and where they finish. As a coach, and sometimes we're getting away from that a little bit with all the transferring and one and dones and all that. But you have 2 great examples of Nick and Brooks, and Nick, because you asked, he didn't play a whole lot to start his freshman year, and it's a little bit like what KJ and Angelo, and I use those guys with my current freshmen. And those guys will say, yeah, I mean, Brooks Barnhizer only played 11 games his freshman year. Look what he is now. A lot of guys are going to run, right? You play 11 games, it's not working for me. I'm going to go find it somewhere else. That's not always the answer. It's let's keep working. Let's keep getting better. The one thing I always love, I've known Nick's family. We had Dom, his older brother, as a walk-on. Dom came in with Ty Berry. Dom and Ty Berry were roommates as freshmen, and they were the best of friends. It was the COVID year. Got to know the Martinelli family really well. Obviously, Nick was committed to Elon. His coach ended up going, with John, because Coach Mike Schrage at Elon, who was a great, great friend of mine, ended up going back to Duke as an assistant. And I don't know if I was the first call to Nick when he hit the portal, but I was real close. I said, man, I want you here at Northwestern. And he came in, and it wasn't easy for him as a freshman. And we even talked about it because we're talking about our young guys, KJ, Angelo, even Justin. I thought that year Nick was a freshman. One of the reasons we got a lot better, that was our tournament team from 2 years ago, was Nick's emergence in the last 15 games of the season. He didn't play a lot the first half of the season, but he stuck with it, and you could see it in practice. He was coming every day. He was working. He had a competitive drive. He was fighting through struggles. He kept a great attitude, and then it clicked for him that second half of this freshman year. Last year, he was like our Super Six man, right? We had a really good team. Then Ty Berry goes down. He becomes a starter the last 10 games, ends up being a 13-a-game scorer, has a moment at Maryland, I think, where he got 27. And I kind of clicked with him like, oh, man, I think I can do this at this level. And then this year he's just been phenomenal, and just to watch his growth, his maturity. Nick's one of those guys, you got to kick him out of the gym. You got to tell him enough, get out of here. I even told him we got a few days off. I said, I got a camera. You're not allowed to go over to Glenbrook South and play pickup with your high school teammates, and get in the gym, get some shots, get a good workout, and get off your leg. I got 20 more games with you. So he just really proud of his development. Love him, love his family, love what he's becoming. And it's what's really fun about being the coach here, in my opinion.
All right, that wraps us up for today.
Guys, Merry Christmas, guys.
Brooks, Chris Holman's comments after the game, he said he thinks Brooks is going to have a chance to play in the NBA. I think he's that caliber of player. What does it mean to hear that from an opposing coach?
I think it means a lot. I mean, I think it's just kind of a testament to the work and like the journey that I think I've been on. But it definitely means a lot coming from Coach Holman. I have a lot of respect for him, and we battled a lot my first few years just here, because I remember one of the games where I really kind of figured out I could be a good player was at Ohio State my sophomore year. That was a big win for us. I think we went like 8-5 in the league with the win at Ohio State. So I definitely have a lot of respect for him. So that means a lot.
For either of you, can you talk about the start of the game going on the 20-0 run and how that set the tone for the rest of the game?
Yeah, I think it kind of just solidified that we were, ready to play. I feel like we definitely dipped down and kind of let them go back on another run to kind of cut into that deficit. But we've had some trouble with how we've started early in the season. So it definitely was better to come out and kind of throw that first punch. But now we have to, learn from it. So when we do throw the first punch, now we have to lock back into the game and not get kind of greedy and not kind of think we have a big lead now. We can kind of let it back. So it's definitely steps in the right direction.
And Nick, obviously your life story involves a lot of being the little brother that grew up playing against older guys. Now, you and Brooks, you guys got to have such a veteran team now here. Do you feel like you're the big brothers of the Big Ten? It seems like you got more older guys than everyone else.
Yeah, I definitely I thought, especially with Brooks being out in the summer and Ty and Matt, I kind of got a opportunity to increase my role as a leader and kind of be that. I'd never really gotten that opportunity other than my senior year in high school per se. But yeah, just to kind of talk about my experiences with the younger guys and kind of lead them on the right path. As much as they try not to listen to me, I try to do my best to instill things that I wish people told me when I was going through it. Everyone has, especially Angelo and KJ, they have so much potential as players, and they're just great kids and hard workers. So I try my best to constantly keep on them. When I was a freshman, I wasn't playing very much, and the opportunity came, and I jumped on it, thankfully. So yeah, I just got to keep them ready. So yeah, I definitely have embraced that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously individual accolades aren't that important, but it had to feel good to have both your names now on that plaque together. Obviously, Nick, you got the MVP last year. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was funny. The first thing I did when I got the plaque was I just went over to Nick and I showed him, pointing where his name was, and I was like, "That's kind of funny. Like, it was you and me." Because I mean, I don't know. I just feel like Nick and I have such a great connection, and I call him my best friend. So it's just kind of cool to just see the good things that can happen when you play the game the right way. And I feel like we both do that. So it's been fun.
Nick, Chris talked about your work ethic and how it's kind of helped you grow to this point, and how you would constantly you'd have to follow you around with a camera to keep you from spending too much time in the gym. Going back to when you play with your Glenn Brooks out buddies, can you talk to just how your work ethic has gotten you to this point?
Yeah, I remember you. You interviewed me in high school. That's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, definitely I'd say for both of us, we fight super hard. This week has been pretty difficult for the both of us, and we just kept fighting and fighting through all the pain and adversity. There was days where really I just didn't want to even come here. I bet same for him. We were both battling things of our own, and we just came here every day and fought as hard as we could. The last 2 days of practice, I was just getting beat and falling over, and so yeah. But I just came here today with the same mentality as I do every day, that it could be my last time on a basketball court. You never know. So yeah, just having that mentality, even in the off season and workouts, everything. Every time we come to play. Even when we were playing 1-on-1 and stuff in the spring, it was so physical, competitive, and yeah, that's just the way that we are.
A couple more questions, Tom.
Yeah, then Brooks, it seems like that you really turned it up offensively in the second half. You scored 16 compared to 5 in the first. What'd you see in the second half? Was it just more about shots were finally going in, or were there some adjustments that you really went into halftime thinking, I really want to make these adjustments heading into the second half against this defense?
Yeah, I think I just kind of let the game come to me a little bit. I think I've struggled. I hadn't really had a lot of practice time before our last 2 games, so I've definitely struggled from the field. So I think I had a couple assists in the first half. I was just trying to get everybody else involved, and I knew that if I was able to do that, maybe the game would kind of just open up a little bit more for me. So coming out in the second half, I kind of knew that, I knew that they were going to really try to turn it up, and it was going to be a faster game just because they were down. So I just tried to, kind of be aggressive and, take the shots that I always work on and I always practice, and, they went in. So it was kind of cool to just see that kind of plan work out and to just kind of let the game come to me. So I think it was definitely partly that reason.
Last question, Ryder.
Coach talked about Matt. You got 5 dunks today. You guys threw some lots to him. Is that something that really just unlock your offense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Matt's so important for us on both ends. He's an incredible lob threat, and he's also a really good defensive big. So with him to come out and just play like that and give us, that kind of input on offense and defense, it takes pressure off people, and it just kind of hypes us up because Matt's really taking a step as a leader this year. He's the captain and things of that nature. But really, it is just like when Matt goes up and he gets a dunk and he comes down, and I think y'all saw with the Illinois game, he cut his arm on the ground and he comes and he just is holding it up. It's like that's the kind of stuff that our program is built off of. And we just love that, and it kind of keeps us going and pushes us forward. So when he plays like that, we're a hell of a team.
Right, that wraps up for
Yep.
today.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.